Okay, I'm going to ask a question here. I'm going to talk about sexual assault. So this is not something you'd want to listen to with your kids or whatever. So yeah, listen to this privately. But I want to ask a question because I've read about this many times, and it really bugs me. Historically, we're a group or tribe or a people overran or did battle with another group, tribe, or people, and then the men from one group who conquered the other group, men on men, sexually assaulted the men that they conquered. I think you can kind of get some of this biblical in the Old Testament, some things like this, and many of stories of battles that happened and things that happened afterwards. We hear a lot of this that comes out of the Middle East. These older groups. A lot of guys from that fought the GWOT, Global War on Terror, talk about the this going on. And it's what I'm thinking. They try to paint it as, well, we conquered this other group, therefore, to demean them more or show that we've dominated them, we're now going to sexually assault them. No, I mean, never in my wildest imagination, if I had an issue with a neighboring person or something like that, and I had to go to battle with them, and I win this battle, I just can't in my imagination keep the reason why maybe I'm going to sexually assault this person now. It just doesn't add up. And I started questioning this because I've read it so many times. The past 10 years, hearing guys from Afghanistan, guys that were in special forces or intelligence talking about, well, yeah, but these guys did stuff with other guys. There was, they've said it on Joe Rogan with this. Well, yeah, but these it bothered us that these Afghanis that we were working with were having sex with other guys or the new guys. It was just a thing that they did. It was like, something Thursdays or whatever. And it sickens me. Okay. And I remember reading 2 books. Now, the books might be wrong. Maybe they're lying. But I remember reading 2 books where they talk about when the Soviet Union, when the Soviets came in for 10 years into Afghanistan, trying to take Afghanistan, and then it broke them, financially, and Reagan broke all this kind of stuff. And then finally the Russians went home. This is not worth it. We're out of here. And after the Russians left, you had these warlords in Afghanistan who now had no enemy. And so they do what warlords typically do. They prey on their own people, their own countrymen. And so that's what they did. They set up basically it's Afghanistan was agricultural. And so these warlords would set up roadblocks. And if you want to get your produce from here to market, you had to go through several roadblocks. And they were just robbing their own people. Because they still had all the guns and all this, and they're going to do all this kind of thing. On top of that, they were kidnapping the children of the people and putting them into sex slavery and this sort of thing. And then at finally the people had enough. Now, mind you, these warlords are doing that. They're preying on their people. They're sexually assaulting and kidnapping and all this stuff. Finally, the people went to, quote unquote, a religious man with who was renowned. He was a religious guy by the name of, and I hope I get the name correct. It's been so long since I thought of this. Muhammad Omar. He's the picture of the one-eyed guy. There's like 2 photos of him. And it could have been all mythical, who knows. But they went to this Muhammad Omar, and they said, hey, man, we got to do something. Now, he's the Taliban. Okay? I shouldn't say that. It's just that he's a religious leader in Afghanistan, and they're being preyed upon by their warlords. I think this is the beginning of the Taliban, but I could be wrong on that. So they get together with Omar and they arm themselves and they go en masse and they start taking out these warlords, hanging them from their tank cannons. Okay? They'd had enough. The people had had enough. And I admired that about these people when I read these two separate books that talk about this. Hey, man, wow, this is different. You know, we tend to look at a group. Afghanistan, they're all the same. They must all be the same. They all believe the same. They're all the same deal, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Well, according to this story, they're not all the same. You have the warlord class, who was a bunch of weirdos, and then you have the people that are being preyed upon. Okay, so I know I have at least two groups going on in this story. But anyhow, these people got together. Now, Omar is one of the guys who hooked up with Osama bin Laden, came to him and put together the 9/11 deal, supposedly. That's where he gets his fame. But he originally, the original story was that he had to stop these warlords from stealing our children. Okay? Now, since then, there's all the stories about, Afghanis, they sexually assault the boys, and they have the boys they use for this and they use for that. In my mind, I'm thinking, no, the Afghanis do not do this. Their warlords do. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think most of us do not prey on our children. But we have people in our community here that do. Although we may all be considered Americans, we are not the same people. So, I'm off. I've been wanting to make this for 6 months, this video. A couple years ago, I saw an intelligence guy talk about, we had to tell him to quit screwing around with the little boys because it bothers us. So just make sure we don't see it. Okay, Mr. Intelligence. Yeah, great. So you're telling me that we're sending our children and money, the children of America, and money to go to another country, and we team up with the pedos to do whatever your goal is there. That's our team. That's the group we're supporting. Not the Afghanistan people, the Fruit Loops of that people. I could be wrong. And I've been thinking about this a long time. So my thinking was, did we go to Afghanistan? One is I would never think in my thing, okay, we're going to go conquer these people. They're bad. We're going to take them out. Oh, by the way, once we've conquered them, we're going to dominate them sexually. Nah, that's not my plan. That's not how my people do it. I don't know where some of that crosses someone's mind. You might have another issue you need to deal with, buddy. And then on the other question I'm asking is, did we go to Afghanistan and hook up with the people of Afghanistan, or were we just joined up with those pedophile warlords in Afghanistan? And those are the people we're trying to work with. Those are the people we're trying to make them police their own place. That's a question I asked. You might have the answer. I don't know. I could be all over the board here. But I had 100 years ago, a guy told me that you were talking about special forces and Green Berets and all that. I said, well, what's all that's about? He goes, well, we go to a country and find out the equivalent of who's the biggest gang here. The gangbangers. Who's the biggest, craziest gang here? Well, that group over there. They got the jackets on, or the motorcycles, or they got the tattoos. That's the group. Well, let's see if they'll work with us. Oh, they will. Well, guess what? We're going to make him president. That's going to be our people. I said, that's what we do. He says, that's what we do. And then what we do is if they're allowing us to have our way with that place, this gang we've brought in as the freedom fighters or rebels or whatever, if we join up, we get them to join up, we overthrow the government through a coup, color, whatever you want to call it, and now we put this gang in charge. And now we get to take whatever resource we're after, get whatever our goal is, and then we allow them to prey on their own people. I have a sad feeling that's probably what it all is. I just can't get in his mind, because I've read this so many times that historically we had, and they sexually assaulted the other tribe. What? Say that again? What? It goes back to rape and pillage, but I thought even then, it just I don't know. I'm probably all over the board here, but maybe you get my point. Is this the group that we back in these things? Is that who we're backing? The Fruit Loop freak weirdos, and what kind of people? I don't. Maybe I'm missing something. I've never been in combat. Does this drive people to that sort of activity? I don't think so. I have people that come back from these wars. They never said that. Oh yeah, we did all this and then we sexually assaulted them. But they said the others were doing this. I don't know. There's something more than just dominating people. I think it's a real weird, gay, whatever. There's something more going on there. That's not just a, we're going to make a point. Anyhow, I'm afraid to upload this, but I will. Like I said, this wasn't for children, but this question has been plaguing me for at least a year. But then I also see the parallel. Well, okay, if that's the thing, you have the people of that area, but then they have this nasty group that preys on them, specifically their children. We got some of that over here. You start to see these parallels. Yeah, it gets a little scary. Anyway, I'm going to shut up. Love you. God bless.